today.
Yeah.
That goes towards that's the change, highlighting the changes.
Oh, that's where they,
That's for all the grandpas.
this one.
Yeah, it's the third to the last page. Third.
Couple extra sheets. Just have to check and see. I got some
what are they
maps.
gonna do?
I have extra maps.
What's that?
I got these. Here you go. I got
I don't know. I think
Do you?
Dave's been playing. I'm just kind of like wait and see what's going to
Extra
happen.
maps. All right. At this time, I'd like to call the Monday, July 11th Planning Commission meeting to order. That brings us to the first item on the agenda, which is roll call. Pitt, here. Price?
Here.
Hema?
Here.
Charnel? Here. Schoblum?
Here.
That brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion by Mr. Price and a two-way tie
It's a tie.
with Charnel and Hema. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the approval of the minutes for the December 14th, 2015 Planning Commission meeting.
Yeah, extra one of those.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Price
Second.
and a second by Ms. Charnel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then we've got a B under the minutes, June 13th recap.
I'll just say that due to the lack of a quorum at the last meeting, what I did is just put some notes together to kind of reflect the nature of the conversation. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at the italicized font there, which again just kind of represented my view of what Babe O'Gorman had talked with us about and Troy Ryan as well as Dave Olson on the project. So it's nothing official, just kind of a recap. So no need to approve it or anything, but just for information.
All right, that brings us to number 5, which is public input. Seeing nobody out here, I will just
Yeah, you can dispense with that.
move on. There is no public hearing tonight. That brings us to discussion item 7A, B2 Highway Business District and I-1 Limited Industrial District.
Just say again that at the meeting last month, Dave Olson was here, who's the purchaser of the former Grandpa's Garage Event Center, and brought a request to have us look at the existing zoning restrictions that were applied to that property on the heels of the development of the Mayo Hospital in that area. Remember that we had a special zone that was created specifically for 3 parcels of property at that time, one of which was included was Grandpa's Garage. And since that zoning was adopted in 2012, I've had no requests for development, no questions regarding the zoning itself. And not just from Dave Olson, but also from Randy Retzikel and Steve Bauer, the other 2 property owners. We've had some conversations since 2012 about their interest in seeing this property rezoned back to what it was, which was the B2 Highway Commercial. So with the request that Dave Olson brought to us a month ago, I discussed with the members who were present then a combination of the existing B2 district, that is that we rezone that property from for the medical planned unit development zone, but incorporating the uses from the existing B2 and adding to them, selectively adding to them, some of the uses that are allowed by the limited industrial zone. So if you look in your packet, what I've included for tonight's conversation is just the I-1 Limited Industrial District, and I've highlighted primarily in a pink highliner the specific uses that we should talk about this evening. And really what I'm looking for is just more official direction from the commissioner as to which uses from the I-1 district might we consider through the public hearing process to be added as uses that would be allowed by conditional use permit in the B2. So really what it's kind of lining up, or the suggestion is, what it's lining up to be is kind of a combination of highway commercial uses, some other service type uses, and then some limited industrial uses pursuant to our I-1 zone. So maybe if you look at the page that was included in the packet, I'll have to share here with you two guys. We'll just go in order, and I'll explain each one of them from the I-1 district. Okay, you got that. Item A, bottling establishments are currently not allowed in the B2 district, or at least they're not specifically stated or referred to. They are allowed in the I-1 district, and perhaps could be included in the B2 district. We don't have any bottling establishments that I'm aware of at this point, but if it's something that we'd wish to specifically identify and include as a conditional use in the B2, we could. So I'll just look for your yay and nay as we go down the list. Any strong feelings one way or the other about bottling establishments? I don't know from a use perspective if they're that intrusive.
Microbrewery and a restaurant out there, I guess. Why not?
I'm good with that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Items B, C, D, E, and F, with the exception of the dyeing plant. I'm not sure what, I guess I know what a dyeing plant is, but at least B, C, D, E, and F, those are already allowed in the B2 as primarily as service businesses. So they're in the industrial district, but they're also allowed currently by the B2. So I don't think we need to deal with those. Dyeing plant, I'm not sure.
That's when you spray the weeds and they die, right?
I think so. I wouldn't be deeply hurt if we just forgot about the dyeing plant. Okay.
Sounds good.
Good? All right. G, the machine shops, metal products manufacturing. My view, that's more of a more significant industrial use. And my suggestion is that we wouldn't necessarily include that as a conditional use in the highway business district. They're allowed in, obviously, the I-1 district and the I-2 district currently, but that's just my feeling. I'm seeing head shaking yes.
yeah.
Okay. H, I just struck manufacturing and left in the assembly of products. And really, the B2 right now would allow that kind of use probably, or at least without significant anxiety. So the assembly end of it, whether they're the ones listed here, such as fabrication, printing, publishing, I don't know from a use perspective if they're that intrusive that we should not allow them, but that's up to you.
So,
Most of that's all gonna be contained inside and not outside.
Right.
yeah,
There's not a ton of hazardous waste blowing around in the air.
so assembly,
So
yeah. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like an assembly situation where they actually have stuff brought in and assemble it.
right. They're not physically manufacturing the pieces on site. They're bringing parts in from elsewhere and just putting them together. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Printing and publishing.
That's good.
Okay.
Then you cross out product assembly.
Where are you, Bruce?
3, H3, are you done?
Yeah. Yep. It seemed redundant.
What's that?
It seemed redundant.
Yeah, because you got it in A1, or in H1,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that's across. Mass transit terminals, I suppose the zip rail came. Our mass transit terminal right now is the park and ride facility, so. I don't, like I say,
Every
That-
once in a while, that thing needs to be expanded.
that's true, that's true.
Here lately, anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't have strong feelings one way or the other on that. I'll take your direction. If we list it, we list it. If we don't, we don't.
I'm fine with listing it. I don't see where.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay?
No, see
All
a
right.
problem.
Yeah.
Save us some challenges later.
Right.
Right, okay. Professional offices are already allowed in the B2, so we don't need to be redundant there. Radio and television stations, I haven't had a lot of inquiries on that recently.
Rats.
Probably won't either.
Yeah.
In, out? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll leave it in for,
Leave it in.
When Fox 9 News wants to come down and set up
Sure.
a station there, I guess I'll
CNN.
see what's wrong with it.
right?
Or like a podcast.
Yeah,
booth or
I-
something.
Yeah,
I think that would actually be better in the B2 than it would in the industrial district.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right on that, yeah. Okay, keep it in. L is already allowed in the B2. M is already allowed in the B2. N, trade schools, specialty schools. Dakota County VOTEC, better in the B2 or in the industrial district?
Probably B2, I would think, yeah.
I would think.
Okay.
That leaves more things open for
Yeah. Agreed.
Right. Warehousing and distribution facilities, that was one specific use that Dave Olson mentioned to us a month ago. Because he's got a couple of different concepts for the use of that property, and he hasn't finalized exactly, what he's gonna pursue right now. So one of the concepts that he discussed with me was the possibility, in that location of having a lighter warehouse, lighter distribution type operation operating out of part of that building or potentially with an addition. That business would be separate and distinctive from the local food center, but the local food center could have some limited distribution and warehousing. So that was his request, along with,
You almost have to have, with the food part of it, you almost have to have a certain
right,
being in and out.
getting in and out, right,
Yeah.
right.
We don't wanna make it so restrictive that nobody can do anything, and then they're down
Right.
here irritating us every time we turn it on.
Well, and yeah, I mean, as far as truck terminals, I don't know, if you've got trucks coming and going out of the
There's only so
warehouse,
much
that's
room
not
down
that.
there, so you can't make much of a terminal, I don't think.
No,
Well, I think the reality, and Dave Olson, I think, has mentioned it, maybe even to this group, certainly to our group on the city side, that with the change of access on 52, it isn't necessarily truck-friendly right now on the south side. So
Yeah.
that may by itself limit some of the interest on a significant terminal.
Yeah, that would actually make sense to have some warehousing in case one of the customers that has food stuff there also wants to have like a central distribution point or just a regional distribution point from there as well.
Right,
It'd probably work pretty good to rent some more space.
right.
Makes sense.
yeah.
But they're gonna improve the roundabouts.
One guy,
They're going to modify them.
The
Yeah,
round,
they're gonna
what?
modify.
Are
They
they?
just take a big old
Well, the
grader.
thousand
and
Curb
grade it
heights
down.
and, yeah,
this
radius.
is
Yeah.
including the Thousand Hills stuff also.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so we gotta accommodate a certain amount
Right.
of what he's got going there.
Right.
Yeah, because remember what we're doing here is we're dealing with 3 specific properties. That'll be the second part of our conversation in terms of rezoning. But if we amend the B2, it's going to apply to the Thousand Hills and other existing operations within the B2. So in some respects, it'll clean up some of that and eliminate the nonconformities that are out there now. Okay.
Good.
So we'll include.
I think we need to leave some of that in to certain extent.
Yeah. Wholesale businesses,
That actually sounds like a probably pretty good B2, doesn't it?
yeah. I think that's fine. It could go either. I mean, it depends on size and scope and type of operation, but yeah. But that's probably fine out there too.
And that's kind of what Thousand Hills is already doing that,
Yep.
so.
Yep. So we're good on that? Okay. So really what's being proposed here is that these uses that we've just gone through at the public hearing within the B2 district, we would add these uses as conditional use permits. Okay? All right. And then in addition to that, the other exhibit in your packet was the 3 properties, Grandpa's Garage, Frontier Ag, and Thousand Hills.
Yep.
It's really Randy Retzikel owns the Thousand Hills parcel, and Steve Bauer owns Frontier Ag, and now Dave Olson owns Grandpa's Garage. I've talked twice, both with Steve Bauer and Randy Retzikel. They're fully aware of what we're doing, and they're supportive of this. So I would not expect at the public hearing, if we go ahead in August, that we would get opposition from either of the other 2 property owners. And I've also made Mayo aware that we're discussing this, and they've shown no opposition.
Yeah, it's,
So with those 3 properties, if we're going to go ahead, Resolution 2016-1 would basically start the official process, then moving us to a public hearing at our meeting in August to consider the amendments to the B2 district by adding these industrial uses by conditional use permit, and secondarily to rezone those 3 properties to the new amended district. So if you pass Resolution 2016-1, that would be the process that would be initiated.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass.
We got a motion by Jay Schobelm and a second by Mr. Price. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Maybe just a request to add the O'Gorman property to the agenda, and we can discuss that. I should probably have a motion to do that.
We had a motion by Mr. Price.
Second.
Second by Ms. Charnel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So we're amending the agenda tonight. Also within your package, you'll see the O'Gorman parcels map. Looks like this. Yeah. When Babe was here last month, we started talking about just the smaller acreage across the parking lot from us. That's the largest of the 7 parcels. But Babe brought to our attention that he's also looking at some of the zoning restrictions with respect to the property across the street. All of these properties, all 7 parcels, are currently zoned residential business district. And one of the concerns that both he and Troy Ryan had was the only way that multifamily development can be approved on any one of those parcels in the residential business district is either as a planned unit development or for elderly housing. And elderly housing required no more than 20% of the residents to be in excess, or under age 55, excuse me. No more than 20% of the residents under age 55. So one of the conversations we had a month ago was Mr. O'Gorman's interest in having us get rid of or loosen up or change or revise or amend that elderly restriction. And we talked about that, and I certainly agree with that. I mean, it's a monitoring nightmare for us too, because we'd have to enforce it year in and year out, and not particularly interested in getting in that business. So that was a request a month ago, was to eliminate that or change that language in the residential business district. Since the meeting last month, I've spoken with him again and have a better understanding now with these other 6 parcels across the road on what he wants to do with that. And I think to address not just what he was asking us to do, but just to fix this residential business district, what I'm proposing tonight for discussion is to take our residential business district, and if you look at the handout, section 152-606, the permitted uses. That was the handout I gave to you, yeah. So you see under permitted uses under the residential business district, interestingly enough, residential uses are not permitted in the residential business district. And that's always been kind of curious to me, long before Mr. O'Gorman showed up. It's a curious way to write a zoning district. I don't think it's been particularly effective, and for whatever reason, it is what it is. But I would suggest to address not only Babe's communication with us last week, but just to fix this district and to eliminate a lot of the non-conforming. We have a lot of single-family residences in this residential business district. They're all legal non-conforming. So if they want to put an addition on, if they want to do something, you know, that really is,
A couple times that.
yeah,
The kid right down here.
Yeah.
Messed him up.
yeah, yeah. So I think to fix and address what Babe O'Gorman was asking us to do and what he told me after our meeting last month, but also to fix some of the other situations we have out there, it might be good for us to add as permitted uses in 152-606, add as permitted uses, single-family detached dwellings and two-family dwellings. If we added those as permitted, that would address what Babe wants to do across the street and over here, and would also fix some of the legal nonconformities we have. If somebody wants to do more than that, if they want to put in an apartment building, they can still do that in the residential business district under the planned unit development provisions. Or if they want to put in elderly housing, which Babe O'Gorman doesn't want to have that restriction, if they wanted to do that, the ordinance would still say as it is, and they could still do that as a permitted use, or as a conditional use, excuse me. But if we're going to do that, if we're going to add single and two-family dwellings as permitted in the residential business district, I'm also going to suggest, if you look under the lot requirements and setbacks, 152-526 down on the bottom, where I've highlighted R2, these are the residential 2 district standards. So you look at the minimum lot sizes, minimum frontages, and then most importantly, the minimum setbacks on the second page. These would line up to our R2 district, and I think that's a sensible way, you know, to do this. If someone wants to put a single-family home under these new provisions in a residential business district, and let's say they've got an interior lot and it's 8,600 square feet, it's not 9,000 square feet. If it's a lot of record, which again, a 60 by 142 foot dimension lot, that's typically a lot of record, it's an original town record. If that's what you have and you're under 9,000 square feet, you're still allowed to build, even under this, because you're a lot of record and you can do that. If you're going to subdivide new lots, you would then have to create 9,000 square foot lots. If you wanted,
The one across the road here,
yep,
that's under that 9,000. Pretty sure, isn't it?
no, the one right, well, the one, this one right across, oh, yeah,
Across
that,
from there.
yeah, that's, you know, what's going to happen across the road, across River Road, and Babe and I talked about this. He doesn't have a plan for that yet, and I said, well, we can still go ahead with the conversation and the zoning and get this residential business district zone cleaned up. We can do that with or without a plan at this point. But I said, if you ever are going to develop the property across the road, you're really going to have to plat that. You're going to have to clean up the existing lots. You're going to have to consolidate them. You're going to have to show us a plan. You're going to have to, you know, put all those pieces together, and then we're going to have to figure out how does it work with this amended zoning ordinance. He would still have the option of coming back with a planned unit development if he chose to. So he's still got all the flexibility. He's just going to have to come back with a plan at some point to do that. But right now, there's no allowance. If he wanted to build on the lots across the driveway here, and let's say he wanted to put in 2 single-family homes or 1 twin home as an example, he can't do it unless it's elderly.
Right.
Or he comes through a very extensive, expensive planned unit development process for 2 homes, which doesn't make sense. So the simplest road to development, I think, in my view, and I'm not speaking for him, but in my view, is the property across the parking lot from us. And these other ones, he said he's got time, he doesn't have a plan, he's got to figure out a plan, but he really would like to see the zoning fixed before he starts, you know, figuring out that plan.
Sure.
You must have heard me talking about him.
Yeah,
So,
we were talking about them.
yeah. That's your sheet right there, Babe, on the,
Yes.
We just got into your conversation.
Okay.
Well, I think,
Sorry, it was late. I had a meeting I had to be at.
Go ahead.
I think we're pretty much fine with everything we got here. And not only, the reason for asking about some of the small stuff over there, there still is some other lots in town that are under that 9,000 feet.
Right.
Quite, you get
Oh,
over
yeah.
by the school, there's quite a few.
Yep.
And around. And if we're gonna do this, it'd be nice to get it straightened out where it doesn't mess up anybody across the board, so that they can do something with some of these lots that are sitting around,
No, we haven't.
if somebody's interested in messing with it. Because I think at one time there was close to 30 lots that I had counted up, and some of them, they had alleys running through the back that shouldn't be vacated, and all kinds of
Right.
different stuff.
What we could do, if we didn't want to use the 2006 standards, is when we were talking about redoing the whole ordinance and coming up with new residential districts, we used the 60 by 142 foot dimensions for our lots, and that was 8,600 or whatever it was. We could reduce these to that level, and that's going to bring those lots into compliance.
Yeah.
So that's fine too. I mean, there's no magic in this other than that's what was consistent with 2006.
Right.
And that is the size of the old plats,
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
60 by 142.
I should catch you up real quick, only take a minute. Thinking about what you brought us last month in our conversation last week, what I'm proposing here, Babe, is that we amend the residential business district zone. Not by changing the elderly housing, that can stay in there, you don't have to use it, if we change it to this. And by this, I'm saying, we'll fix a lot of our problems, I think address your concerns, if we amend the residential business district to allow single-family detached dwellings and two-family dwellings as permitted uses in this zoning district. If we do that, that's going to then allow you on your properties to come in and propose single-family detached or twin homes as permitted uses. You don't have to come back for conditional use. You don't have to go through the normal, review with Planning Commission Council. You can just come in and do that. If you wanted to build three-family dwelling, four-family dwelling, a two-story apartment building, you could still do it without changing the ordinance, but as a planned unit development. So you'd still have that option. But your single-family twin homes that you talked about, or we talked about after our last meeting, I think this fixes it, and it also fixes a lot of other problems that we have in this district if we make them permitted uses. Because if you look at the 606 on that first page where it says permitted uses,
Okay, yep.
ironically, in our residential business district, residential development is not permitted.
Right, right. And it doesn't make sense, yeah.
So I think as I thought about it more, Babe, what I wanted to propose to the commission tonight is I think this gets you where you want to go. It cleans up some of our mess. It doesn't force us into, eliminating stuff out of the ordinance. Let's just leave it in there. Maybe you're not going to use the senior, the elderly housing. Maybe somebody else will.
Well, somebody brought this up, and I think it was at the last meeting. How are you going to police that? Yeah, but I mean, why would you want to police that? And like you and I talked, when you get to the covenants,
Right.
because over where Welco Ready Mix is, I don't know what the name of it is. You know where I'm talking, across from old Bob Yales. Bob was 175 right now, but where old Welco, Van Gilder did that, and up here in Ridge Brook, is it?
Crest?
Yeah, but Ridgecrest Drive, but I think it's called Ridge Brook.
Okay.
They have those, all have covenants,
yep.
okay? They all have covenants, those little developments. And they do a little development, it's basically senior, and they have covenants that cover all of that.
Right.
And they cover all sorts of things. My father did one up here in the south end. I just don't see that you're gonna wanna start policing the age limits of the people living in this complex. I don't think you want to.
Checking IDs.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, you leave it up to the
Right.
folks there, and they have their own little board, and they'll take care of it, and let them.
Right.
I mean, that's just what I think.
I'm okay with that. And so like I say, I think if we make those adjustments to the residential business district, add those uses, single and twin homes, as permitted uses in 606, we can bring back the lot standards and the setbacks that are consistent with our other residential districts, and I think that can solve the problem. And then, like I say, if
It's me.
if you wanted to build a two-story apartment building, this isn't gonna get you there, but you still have that right to do it as a conditional use.
Correct.
And it wouldn't even have to be elderly.
Right.
So we don't mess with that, it just stays as it is. And someday we'll fix the rest of this district, but it just seemed, the more I thought about it, this fixes a lot of problems and it kind of keeps it
Well,
simple.
at least permits what most would want to do with the property.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you do get around, across River Road to your 6 parcels across the street, when you get around to deciding what it is you want to do, if you want to do them as single-family detached, you can do it. If you want to do some twin homes in there, you can do that. If you want to have some single-family detached and some twin homes in there, you can do that. If you want to put all that land together and do a planned unit development, you can do that.
I'm sure that's what I want to do, because I think there's a couple lot sizes. Now, if I do that, I don't think that lot size is the same, correct?
What we're gonna have to do on the property across the street is we'd probably take a gross acreage. You'd put all those parcels together, you give some exterior boundaries to it, and we're gonna have, X thousand square feet.
Yep.
And then depending what the ordinance says is we'll just divide it up and say, okay, you're allowed 8 units or 7 units or 5 units, whatever it is.
Well, I was gonna still make them big enough to, I mean, you have to be that big, that's like minimum. That
They're not huge.
8,500 or whatever
Yeah.
is like minimum, I think, but.
Yeah. So you want to change it back to the 60 by 142? Because that's what we were doing when we
I'd
talked
like to
about,
Clean up before we can get the other older lots that are in town. We
Okay.
might as well clean some of that up all in one big brush stroke and be
Okay.
done with it, I would think.
That lot that I built on across from the East Side Park in 92, that's an old 60 by 172, or 142, I'm sorry. And I mean,
Yeah, and I
that's,
had one down across from the park, and then I think we bought it in 2004. They changed everything in 2006, and they wouldn't let me, Dave
Yeah.
wouldn't let me
no, I wasn't here
tear
then.
it down. No, not Dave Barnes.
Oh,
Wouldn't let me
okay.
tear it down,
The other Dave.
change stuff around, so now I sit in this chair.
Okay. Well, if that sounds reasonable, then we can go to public hearing at the August meeting on these changes and,
yeah, and I'm doing nothing, but I want to, I don't know when, and I don't know what. How about that? I got no idea.
Okay.
But when it comes time, I know I don't want that clause. Yep,
Everybody.
yep, we can move on.
well, that's why I think if we do it this way, we can comfortably have the planning commission initiate the rezoning, not that you can't, but if you're gonna have to come in and file a permit and da-da-da-da-da.
I don't need.
I think,
Yep.
just to help clean up our residential business district. It benefits you, yes, but it benefits a lot of other properties. I think we should probably just do that. That seems sensible to me. So I would have a similar resolution to what you just passed for Dave Olson's and that area. I would have a similar recommendation in a resolution form number 2 and
Okay.
just have you do that.
Well, I'd like to move that resolution number 2, that we go ahead and put that into effect and get it on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Mr. Price and a second by Mr. Hema. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny. In 605, it says right in there, intermixing of low to medium density residential with low intensity business uses. And then
Not allowed.
They didn't
Want 'em, but we're not
describe
gonna let you
them.
have them.
They didn't describe them in 1606.
Okay.
Was this in 2006? And you see, I think it's all revolves around this, and I just noticed when I went through, I ran into, now the name slips me, the guy that was going to do that, the malt house, and had big ideas of tearing that all down, and they were going to put a shopping center and all that where Dablo's, which is what I don't know anymore, this side of Budget Mart is,
Oh,
yeah.
locations on Fifth.
Yes, yeah. Well, and Cromer's Creations are in there now. That's the old Pontiac. But they were going to redo that whole area there and put in all this. I can't think of the guy's name now, but I just ran across it going.
City to take the towers down.
Right. No, exactly. No, they want to develop it on your dime, not theirs. But that's where I think this came into play.
Okay.
Because it was 5, 6 years after I left here, and I didn't pay much attention to it when it happened, because I wasn't gonna do anything with it anyway, so.
Right.
It'd be like over at Northfield where they have the commercial areas where they redeveloped that along the river there. You come in on 19,
Yep.
and they redeveloped that where that old lumberyard used to
Yep.
be.
Yep.
And they put all the business stuff down on below, and then they have all the apartments up above. I
Right.
think that's what this is supposed to
Right.
be designed for, more or less.
Right.
Because they did a bunch of this same thing up in Stillwater, just a ton of them. And Anoka, they put 3 great big buildings in along the river up there in Anoka. Same ordinance.
All right, well, that finishes out the agenda,
That does.
unless there's anything else that anyone has.
Planning Commission member comments.
I will not be here next month. I'm gone from the 1st to the 21st.
Jeez. Vacation?
Work.
How about for the rest of
Can I
you?
cast my vote now?
Sure, why not?
How about for the rest of you? Is it looking okay for August, what did I say, 3rd? What day did we say, 8th? At least at this point, because
Yeah.
Yep, I'm gonna stay.
we're running a little shy. It's tough with 5 of you to get 4, especially in the summer, so.
Is there only 5?
Yeah,
Is
we're
there a
down, we're down
vacancy?
2. We're down 2.
We're down.
You're down 2?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And last month, that's the only time we've never had a quorum, at least as long as I've been here, so it doesn't happen frequently, but it is a little bit tougher. I mean, Jay was not gonna be able to make it, and then he was able to make it, and so it's,
And I, last minute.
yeah,
My homeowner showed up at 3 o'clock when I had to leave
Yep.
Excelsior.
yep.
Life happens, you know?
Dead in the water. Walk out to the truck and get the yellow notebook and go back in.
Well, worst case, if we run short at the August meeting, maybe we'll think about, well, you're not back till the 21st, second?
Yeah,
Aren't-
I could be back a little bit sooner than that. I think the 16th I could actually, I think I should be able to take off.
Well, if one of the others has an issue, we'll try to get a special meeting, we'll try to do something in between.
Aren't we in a day and age yet where you can electronically vote?
Mhm.
But I mean, businesses are run like that all the time, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
Good, hey,
We could have video conference, I
can call
suppose.
you.
Yeah, we could do that.
see,
Call you on
Yeah, you
my
could do,
iPhone.
we've done that.
Yeah,
this is
Yeah,
the
we've done
latest
that.
technology, see?
that is,
Yeah.
flip phone?
Yeah. And it's staying flipped
There you go.
for a reason.
As long as you can dial 911.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I know that things are changing,
Right.
and so I thought maybe that was the case, so.
Are we set up to do video conference?
Not effectively,
I'm just curious.
yeah.
Well, if somebody has
I
an
got
iPhone-
Skype on my
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, you can do that.
Back and
somebody's got an
forth, yeah.
iPhone,
Yeah,
they can-
yeah.
Have it all
we can do that.
come into one place?
No, I don't have an iPhone.
So how long have you been short?
4 months now or 5.
Yeah,
Only a
well, we haven't
few.
had meetings, so it hasn't been,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
so we've been okay.
It hasn't been too bad.
yeah,
Right.
Could use somebody, though.
there is nobody?
There is somebody. We could use somebody.
Yes. Well, we'll start looking. Start beating the brush.
Yeah? I don't get out much anymore.
They don't let me out much. Hey, thank you guys for your time
Hey,
here.
thanks, babe.
Yep.
What's the date on that, on the second, what is it, the 8th or the?
Eighth.
Have to be the 15th, I have to be back.
Well, if we went the following Monday, yeah, but. Well, you don't worry about us. If, it sounds like these 4, you know, you never know, but if something happens, because we will have a public hearing schedule, what I'll try to do is, if we're one short, let's say, we'll try to get
Council
something
member.
between the 8th and your return, but I don't think it's real, Babe doesn't seem to be overly concerned with time. Dave Olson, I think, is understanding that we're moving forward, and that's probably okay for now, but.
I'd like to see it
Yeah,
fast as possible.
yeah.
I don't wanna be the one holding it up.
Any other planning commission member comments?
No, but I hope they are gonna fix those things south of town.
Yeah, they were gonna do it here 2 months ago or so. They're gonna start on, what was it, like the first weekend of June or something like that?
Cause you do.
And then we
trucks to be
put a
able to use that.
halt to it because they started doing the overpass. Up
What's that?
north, they were gonna fix them, or they were gonna shut down that intersection for a week to redo the curbing on that.
They wanna wait till the overpass.
But they wanted to wait, but now I think it's scheduled for August, isn't it?
I don't think I have a final date yet, but we're meeting with MinDOT next Thursday, I think.
Cause we wanna establish a truck route to the east of Cannon over to the new
Yeah.
cutoff, you know.
The other thing, there was a little bit of a public relations snafu. The business owners weren't notified of when it was gonna close.
Oh, sure,
So
yeah.
this room was full of people telling MinDOT what they needed to do.
MinDOT listens real well.
And they made the right decision in delaying it. We'll just leave it at that. So,
Is that a decision when you just make a decision to delay?
it was that day.
Well, that brings us to number 9, which is adjourn. I've got a motion by Mr. Price and a second by Ms. Charnel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.